One bright morning, something unbelievable happened. Silver slimes appeared in the clearing. These weren't your ordinary monsters. They were legendary, almost never seen. But today, they were right there, shimmering under the sunlight. Two players hid behind the trees, watching in awe. One whispered anxiously, telling his buddy to just let them go. But the other man's eyes burned with greed and excitement. Ignoring every word of caution, he sprinted straight into the clearing, sword in hand. His friend yelled after him, voice trembling, but it was useless. The reckless hunter was already charging at full speed, closing the distance between him and those silver slimes. Then, boom, a perfect critical hit split a slime's glowing core clean in half. The man didn't stop. He slashed left and right, cutting through the silver monsters like paper. In seconds, the once bustling clearing lay silent. Every slime was gone, vanished. The victor stood there, his eyes gleaming with a fierce green light. Something powerful had awakened within him. A moment later, a bright notification appeared. Player Takahashi Yukito has obtained S-rank items, silver slime armor, gloves, and boots. The kind of loot every player dreams about. From a distance, a young man in a green hoodie cheered, "Got him!" That critical hit dropped everything. He sounded almost jealous of the incredible luck on display. As he watched, jealousy gave way to admiration. That guy was unbelievably lucky. Meanwhile, Takahashi Yukito just stared at his loot in disbelief. 3 S-rank pieces all at once? Was this real? It felt almost too perfect, like fate was finally rewarding him for the battles and failures of his past life. In that former life, he'd been nothing but a bronze-ranked adventurer. Takahashi Yukito, the nearly forgotten underdog. Back then, he spent his days grinding on the first floor of the Tokyo dungeon, chasing a dream that never came true. All of a sudden, one of his teammates showed his phone, panic in his eyes. Monsters had appeared even outside the dungeons now. It was no longer safe for anyone to be out in the open. Some wanted to escape deeper into the dungeon. Others argued that going deeper would only trap them when the monsters closed in. Yukito turned to an old man nearby and urged him to leave too. "Now's not the time to hunt slimes," he warned. The boy gently placed his hand on his grandfather's shoulder, but the old man brushed it away without hesitation. Defying all warnings, the old man stepped forward, heading straight toward the slime field, determined, feared by none. People watched, whispering. No one stopped him. They thought Grandpa had lost his mind. Then, someone shoved him. The old man stumbled and fell. His hood slid off, revealing his gray hair. Decades of struggle seemed to flash across his face in that single instant. The world had changed ever since adventurers began to appear. People had started evolving in strange new ways, shaped by mysterious power systems. Progress came only by one thing: defeating monsters. Each level up granted new attributes. Yukito had once dreamed of raising his strength, just 5 more points, that's all he wanted. Some adventurers were even gifted magic or special abilities, though that was a rare blessing. Slowly, the old man rose again. He summoned his stats panel, showing the journey of his entire life. Takahashi Yukito, level 98. Strength, speed, stamina, all at 5. Agility at 4. Magic power at 3. Elemental resistance at 2. He had lived a long, grueling life, filled with battles and pain. Every scar, every fight, all were steps toward this near impossible level. Most players would have quit long before him, stuck with weak monsters for pitiful progress. But not Takahashi Yukito. That slow grind had carried him this far. No one could defeat him. He stood alone, unmatched, the highest level adventurer alive. Even with old bones and fading strength, he faced swarm after swarm of slimes. He struck with such force that his blade finally shattered in 2. The max level was 99. Just one more point, one final push, and everything he'd endured would finally pay off. "Just a little longer," he whispered. The dream was right within reach. With renewed fire, the old man lunged, striking at the silver slimes again to gain the last fragments of experience. Every motion screamed urgency. He had to reach his goal now. Surely the level up was just delayed. Then, before him, appeared a massive slime, translucent, its giant core pulsing inside. With his weapon gone, he did the unthinkable. He bit into the monster with his bare teeth. And then, a voice echoed in his mind. "Takahashi Yukito, you have reached maximum level. Congratulations." His body froze. Was this real? He had finally done it. All those years of pain and sacrifice finally rewarded. His strength stat ticked up by 1 point, 1 single point. The status board flashed again. Level 99 achieved. Strength? 6? "Is this some kind of joke?" he muttered, staring in disbelief. He fell to his knees, crushed. Was all of it truly for nothing? Mighty Yukito, broken. His spirit shattered with that single realization. Every ounce of hope drained away. He could barely move. From the shadows, new monsters began to stir, slowly creeping toward him. "So this is it," he whispered. "Did I live my whole life in vain?" His thoughts flickered. He hadn't even saved his beloved mother. Memories of his entire life flashed back, ending in silence. Fears fell. He hadn't reached his goal, not truly. The old man could no longer fight. The demons drew closer. One more step, and his old body would be crushed beneath a colossal paw. But then, something glitched. Error detected in Takahashi Yukito's system profile. Life restoration and rollback functions have been activated, announced the voice. Hidden parameters unlocked. Bonus characteristics granted. Unique stat points, plus 9999. Yukito opened his eyes, dazed. His vision was still blurry. A soft voice greeted him, cheerful and light. When his eyes focused, he saw a girl smiling at him. "Congratulations, Mr. Takahashi Yukito. You're now an adventurer." The green-eyed hero froze. "What? Was this real?" The girl noticed his confusion. Is something wrong?" she asked. Snapping out of it, Takahashi smiled weakly and thanked her for the pendant she had given him. Later, sitting alone, his mind spun. What the hell was going on? He stared at his phone, beads of sweat running down his face. Wait, he thought, this is the same day I registered with the Adventurers Guild. He couldn't understand it. The last thing he saw before death was bonus stats? Was this all connected? He opened the window. Everything outside looked exactly as it had back then. How could something like this even happen? Then, something caught his eye on the screen. His eyes widened. This couldn't be right. There was a brand new column on his status display. Luck. Facts that didn't exist before. Now, it was right there. Could this have been a hidden parameter all along, he wondered, still in disbelief? How could I, Takahashi Yukito, he muttered, a man who failed for 70 years straight, end up with this? Just moments ago, he had been an old man on death's door. Now, he was young again. For once, things were looking good. Maybe too good. Let's see what this new luck stat can do, he grinned, preparing for another slime hunt. Minutes later, he entered the Tokyo Dungeon's first floor. Imperishable footprints. It didn't take long before he spotted his first target. A slime wobbled in the tall grass, almost like it had been waiting just for him. Then, from the corner of his eye, he caught a sudden movement. He turned and froze. That couldn't be. A silver slime. A real one, again. He remembered this monster. He'd only ever encountered it once before, in his entire past life. Back then, it had fled the moment it saw him. Silver slimes were famous for two things: absurd amounts of experience and almost impossible escape speed. Just one step, he thought, and my sword will catch it this time. He sprinted forward when suddenly something flashed in the grass. An arrow struck the dirt right at his feet. Someone shouted an apology from afar. Yukito clenched his teeth. "You idiot," he muttered under his breath. The rare slime should have bolted, but strangely, it stayed still. Then, unbelievably, it began to move toward him, slowly, then faster. The slime lunged, faster than he'd ever seen. Yukito tightened his grip, ready to counter. His blade sliced straight through the silver slime in one clean motion. The weapon pierced its glowing core, shattering it. The slime exploded into shimmering fragments. It was over. And in that instant, his level shot up again. Victory was his. With one heavy strike, his sword snapped clean in half. These silver slimes weren't pushovers. They were unbelievably strong. Takahashi Yukito sighed. His next mission was clear. He needed a new weapon, fast. Then, out of the corner of his eye, something shiny caught his attention on the grass. When he looked closer, his heart almost skipped a beat. It was an S-rank loot drop, a stunning silver sword gleaming in the sunlight. A grin spread across his face. Where to start? An S-rank sword right after such a fight? Its stats were wild, boosted attack power, but a 30% chance to miss due to the slime's slippery nature. Risky, but powerful. "Not bad at all," Yukito muttered, gripping the sword. Today's hunt was going to be a good one. Then he froze. In the next clearing, 4 silver slimes sitting together. 4! That kind of luck was almost impossible. For a second, he honestly wondered if he was dreaming. His new luck stat was working overtime, but the dream turned real fast. The 4 slimes launched themselves straight at him, moving with terrifying speed. No choice, Yukito thought, tightening his grip. Let's see what this new sword can really do. He knew he couldn't take them all out at once. He'd have to move smart, fast. He swung, again and again, each hit sharper, cleaner, until those critical strikes landed perfectly. Minutes later, it was over. All 4 monsters defeated. Guess luck really does exist, he laughed breathlessly. Another silver flash dropped to the grass. Magnificent armor. S-rank again. Somehow, it had all gone perfectly. Yukito had wiped out every enemy in sight, but he wasn't done. His hunting spree went on for another full hour. 10 silver slimes total appeared that day. 10. And every single one dropped rare loot. The dungeon gods must have been smiling at him. Even Yukito had to admit it now. Luck wasn't just a stat, it was real. Looking over his spoils, he smiled wide. This haul was unbelievable. Exhausted, he dropped onto the grass, soaking in the moment. For once, life felt good. Staring up at the pale blue sky, Yukito let his mind wander. With this kind of power, he whispered, maybe I can finally become someone important. Maybe he could make his family happy again. His mother, sick and bedridden. She deserved a better life. His little sister, yeah, she could use some help too. Yukito raised his hand toward the sky, imagining a future where he actually made it happen. Then he sat up suddenly, realization striking him he actually had a home to return to. 70 years of loneliness, regret, pain, and now a second chance to change it all. He stood, excitement burning inside him. He wanted nothing more than to go home. Apartment 203. The small nameplate still read Takahashi. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for the doorknob. Calm down, he told himself. Just calm down. Yukito took a deep breath, steadying his racing heart. Then, finally, he turned the knob to open the door. But before he could, it swung open on its own. Standing there was his little sister, Nozomi, eyes wide and sparkling with joy. "Big brother," she said, beaming. Overwhelmed, Yukito pulled her into a tight hug. She blinked, surprised but smiling. Laughing, she joked, "What's with you? This some hidden camera prank or something?" She squirmed to get free, giggling, but Yukito held her close a few seconds longer. Deep down, he promised himself, no one would ever hurt his family again. They were his treasure, his reason to fight. Later, he told Nozomi everything, about the dungeon, his rebirth, and his impossible luck. She stared in awe. "Then, we can save Mom, can't we?" Yukito nodded, smiling gently. "Of course, it just takes a little effort." The very next day, he was already making moves, selling his rare loot for cash. With the fortune he earned, Yukito knew exactly what to do next. At a crowded auction, he placed a massive bid, $10 million on a single lot. A gasp swept the room, but Yukito won. He had just bought the highest grade healing potion, Thop. The hospital. Walking beside Nozomi, Yukito approached the room where their mother lay. After hearing a soft "come in," they entered, smiling warmly at the woman who'd given them everything. Their mother looked overjoyed to see her children. "How are the both of you doing?" she asked gently. Yukito chuckled. "We should be the ones asking how you're doing, Mom." Nozomi opened a small box filled with treats and proudly showed their mother the goodies inside. The woman sighed lovingly. "You shouldn't have spent money on me. You two should have eaten something nice instead." Yukito shook his head. "You don't need to worry about money anymore." Then Nozomi added, "We brought you another gift." Her mother raised an eyebrow. "Another gift?" Yukito smiled nervously, holding out a bottle. "I know this sounds strange, but Mom, you need to drink this." Nozomi quickly explained, "Big brother made money in the dungeon and bought this for you." Their mom blinked, stunned. "But you just became an adventurer. How?" Yukito shrugged. "Guess I got lucky. The dungeon's a big lottery." He offered the bottle again, gently. "Please drink it." Carefully, his mother removed the cork. Without further hesitation, she took a sip, trusting her children completely. And then it happened. Her body began to glow faintly, radiating light. The siblings watched breathlessly, waiting for what came next. Their mother exhaled deeply. The pain, the fatigue, gone. For the first time in years, she could breathe freely. Relief washed over Yukito. "It worked," he whispered, smiling in pure joy. "Good job, big brother," Nozomi cheered, eyes sparkling. Their mother laughed softly. "That potion was awful," she said with a scrunched nose. Yukito chuckled and quickly handed her a dessert. "That should fix it." When the doctor examined her afterward, he was stunned. Her symptoms had vanished, the disease no longer progressing. All she needed now was a short rehabilitation. Weeks later, she was finally discharged, healed and free. For the first time in forever, the three of them were home, together. It felt like a dream. That night, she sat at the dinner table again, smiling brighter than ever. After eating, she washed her own plate and said, "There's no comfort like being home." Nozomi was glowing with happiness, but Yukito's face remained serious. She noticed it instantly. "What's wrong, big brother?" He sighed. "That potion only stopped the disease. It didn't cure it, not completely." Nozomi's smile faltered. "Then, what do we do now?" "We need something stronger," Yukito explained. "A true miracle, the magic elixir." His sister blinked. "That's the one from the news, right? The world's top adventurer found it?" Yukito nodded. "Yeah, it's buried 50 floors down, and money can't buy it." Nozomi's voice softened. "It's a one-of-a-kind item, isn't it?" "Exactly," he said. "That's the one I'm after. Unique items like that can't be traded or sold. They can only be used by the one who finds them. True personal rewards of the dungeon. So if we can't buy it," Nozomi said, determination in her voice, "then we'll just have to find it ourselves." She looked at her brother seriously. "Can you even go that deep?" Takahashi took a slow breath. "In theory, no. I'd die halfway down." Nozomi frowned sadly. "Then there's no way, right?" Yukito smiled faintly. "I said in theory. In truth, he wasn't just lucky. He still had all the memories and experience from his past life, and he remembered something others didn't. There was another path. Deep in the 20th floor, a boss awaited, an ancient golem unlike any other. It held the very elixir they needed. The problem? The boss appeared at random, a slim chance within a rare chance, pure luck. "In my past life," Yukito murmured, "I only ever heard of one man finding it. But now, with his new strength and unbelievable fortune, he knew the outcome would be different. He would save his mother." Nozomi noticed the confident spark in his eyes and raised an eyebrow. "What are you plotting, bro?" "Do I really look that suspicious?" he teased. She winked playfully. "Yeah, but that's okay. You can do anything, big brother." Yukito couldn't help but smile. His sister's words filled him with warmth. It felt good, really good to be believed in. But even with that encouragement, he knew better than to rush in blind. Before diving back into the dungeon, he had to prepare properly. Prepare? Nozomi blinked, confused. What do you mean by that exactly? It means there's always a way, Yukito replied with quiet confidence. No matter where you are or what you face. He walked over to the old dresser where their family photo was displayed. He glanced at it briefly, then began gathering what he needed for his next descent. First priority, gear. His trusty large silver slime sword, high attack power but still tricky, a 30% chance to miss. Risky, but he'd take it. Then came the silver slime tier, which granted a 1/3 chance to reduce incoming damage. Useful for what was coming. As he packed, Nozomi stood by, arms crossed, watching every move intently. "You're really going already?" she asked. "Like that? Don't adventurers usually wear heavy armor?" Yukito chuckled. "Normally, yeah, but I'm not strong enough to drag all that around. I'd collapse before even swinging my sword." His stat window didn't lie. It showed his limits plain as day. Luck would have to carry him. With those low physical stats, heavy gear was impossible, so he'd rely only on his blade and chance. Still, he wasn't powerless. Thanks to his level ups, he had a growing list of battle skills. His favorite? Mighty Layered Lunge, a brutal move with a 30% chance to land 3 critical hits in a row. "So you're gonna boost your stats again?" Nozomi asked. "There's that floor, what was it, floor 5? Her words jogged his memory. "Alice's Wreath," he said. He remembered that place well. That floor dropped rare magical fruits from its monsters, items that could raise attributes temporarily. Perfect for him. "Fine," Nozomi sighed. "Just please be careful, okay?" Still worried, she packed him a small lunch, even though he'd probably find enough fruits down there. Yukito smiled and took the package. "Thanks, really." The system confirmed it. A new item appeared in his inventory. Lunch, Nozomi's gift. With everything ready, he stood and opened the door. "Time for another adventure," he said softly as he stepped out. The forest outside the 5th floor was twisted and eerie. Strange purple mushrooms pulsed faintly along the trees, casting ghostly light. Insects buzzed, trapped and devoured by predatory plants wrapped around trunks. After some walking, Yukito finally arrived at floor 5 Alice's Wreath, a green labyrinth filled with floral monsters. The place was vast and confusing. Everything looked alive, and nearly everything was dangerous. Fortunately, this floor was considered low-level, long cleared by others. As long as I stick to my map, Yukito thought, I'll be fine. So he pressed on, following his instincts and letting his confidence lead the way. Eventually, he spotted what looked like a cluster of trees, but something was off. Beneath them was an ant's nest. "Human-sized ants," he muttered. "They mimic trees to ambush travelers." He smirked. Clever, really clever. Closer look told the truth. The leaves had no veins, and the roots weren't fixed. They twisted unnaturally, moving sideways. These weren't trees, they were ants. Using their roots like legs, they crept through the forest waiting to strike. Then, glowing red eyes blinked from one of the trunks. Yukito smiled. "Found you." One clean critical strike, and the creature split in half before it could even react. All it takes is spotting the ambush first, he thought. After that, easy win. A small orb rolled from the corpse, a magical fruit, his first reward. Without hesitation, Yukito picked it up and bit into it. Wait, almost like a pear, no, an apple. Either way, good enough. But the taste wasn't what mattered. He opened his status window, and there it was. His stats had boosted slightly. "Even small gains add up," he said. "If I keep this up, I might actually get strong." From then on, his hunt became relentless. Fight, eat, repeat, a brutal loop of battle and growth. By the end of the day, he was sick of the fruit's flavor. He sat down, unwrapped Nozomi's snack, and took a well-deserved break. After eating, he checked his stats again, curious to see his progress. His face lit up. He'd reached the threshold, an intermediate combat level. Finally, maybe it was time to head back now, he thought. But fate had other plans. In that very moment, he felt it, a presence watching him. Yukito turned sharply. "Who's there?" a mocking voice answered. "Hey rookie, you can't just haul all the loot. Maybe we should teach you some manners." Two men emerged from the shadows. One grinned with gold teeth, the other toyed with a shiny ring on his finger. "Funny," Yukito said. "You don't look like licensed adventurers. Bandits, huh?" The short one sneered. "Yeah, we're the kind that take what spoiled brats like you can't protect." The taller man cracked his neck. "Be smart, kid. Hand over your gear, and we might let you live." Yukito answered with his sword. In seconds, it was over. The bandits defeated with brutal precision. He exhaled slowly. That was close, but flawless. The first attacker had used a skill, Beasting Lunge, a level 25 move, way above Yukito's rank. That skill guaranteed a perfect hit, almost unavoidable, though it did reduce attack power by 30%. Even so, that 30% still nearly killed him. Without his luck stat, he'd have a hole through his gut. The surviving thug stumbled back, eyes wide. "No way, you beat Yamada in one hit?" Yukito leveled his blade. "Surrender now, and you'll keep your life." But the man roared defiantly, "Don't underestimate me. You can't touch me from this distance." Yukito nodded calmly. "You're right, I can't reach you." The robber grinned. "Ha, thought so. Giving up already?" "Not exactly," Yukito said and activated a glowing portal beside him. He reached into it and pulled out an artifact. "Let's see if my inventory's on my side too," he murmured. What he drew was strange, a staff covered in swirling, mismatched colors. The bandit laughed. "What is that, kid? A toy wand? My gear's better by a mile." He raised his own ornate staff proudly. "Face it, you're out of your league." Yukito gripped the bizarre artifact. "Guess we'll find out who's luckier." He'd gotten it earlier after fighting a bear and ant. It looked useless, but something told him to hold on to it. The bandit sneered. "Amateur, playing with junk." "This," Yukito replied, "is called the substance of ridiculousness." It was infamous. An unstable item that triggered completely random magic spells. Dangerous even to use. Odds were terrible. 40% chance of failure, 30% low-tier buff, 20% random debuff or buff, and just 9% for medium-level magic. Getting even a weak spell from it would be considered lucky. This was pure gambling magic roulette. The thug smirked and cast Fireball, a solid mid-level spell. If Yukito somehow rolled even a same-level spell, the bandit would still win. The mage's stats and gear gave him a plus 50 advantage. "This fight's already decided," the outlaw declared confidently. He was sure that the rookie's lucks wouldn't save him now. The mage aimed his blazing fireball straight at Yukito, but Yukito didn't flinch. He just stared at the incoming flame, calm as ice. Finally, he whispered, "It's reacting." He closed one eye, focusing every bit of will into the staff. "Come on," he muttered, "show me what you can do." Then the staff burst to life, wild magic swirling around him. The air shook. It was like a volcano erupted right beside them. His face remained calm, cold, determined. Yukito pointed the staff straight at his enemy. Flames roared outward, consuming everything in their path. Breeze, soil, air, the whole forest trembling under raw power. The bandit's smug smile collapsed into horror. He realized the truth. His own fire spell had been completely overtaken. "Impossible," he screamed. That's a top-tier meteor spell. The odds of casting that are 0.05%. Flames rained from the sky, closing in fast. "It's just illusion magic. It has to be," he shouted, trying to convince himself. But then his hair started to burn. The heat was real, so real he screamed in panic. "Stop, please, stop!" The fiery storm devoured everything. The robber trembled, terror consuming him, and in pure fear, the bandit screamed again. Before the realization hit, he had just soiled himself. Yukito didn't stop until the entire battlefield had turned to blackened ash. Not a trace of life remained. One of the mages, who'd been reduced from arrogance to terror, now sat trembling like a helpless child. The incredible energy from that spell had shattered the strange staff he'd found from the ant earlier. Yukito picked up the cracked artifact, lifting it close to his face, studying the jagged fault lines across it. Then he exhaled and tossed it aside. "Guess your luck ran out," he muttered. The thing was useless now. Still, he couldn't help but grin. He was way too lucky for all this to be coincidence, and he was more than fine with that. Stepping through the smoke, Yukito looked around the charred clearing. Even he seemed a bit shocked at his own victory. Leaving these two here would be a problem, he thought, staring at the unconscious bandits. They weren't dead, just out cold, and that gave Yukito an idea. "Better make sure they don't cause trouble later," he sighed, pulling some cord from his pack. After tying both of them tightly, he stepped back, satisfied. That should hold. With his sword sheathed, Yukito dragged both defeated thugs toward the stairs. Time to head out. As he left the dungeon, it almost felt like walking out of a video game, like a player finishing a tough mission. At the surface, he handed both criminals over to the police without a second thought. Hours passed through long interrogations until the sun was gone. Only then did exhaustion finally hit him. Home would have to wait. There was somewhere else he needed to stop first. He made his way to the Adventurers Guild's front desk, bowing politely. "Sorry I didn't check in earlier, been dealing with a few dungeon issues." The receptionist looked up. "Are you Mr. Takahashi Yukito?" She smiled knowingly. Looks like the police had already told her everything. "Congratulations on your victory," she said warmly. Her next words stunned him. "Your rank has been upgraded to silver." "Wait, what?" Yukito blinked. "There must be some mistake. I didn't do anything special." Silver rank wasn't something handed out easily. It usually took years of accomplishments. Adventurers had to earn that title through defeating monsters, collecting rare artifacts, and aiding the guild. But the receptionist just shook her head. "No mistake. You captured 2 members of the Crimson Hands gang." The name made him pause. The Crimson Hands, a huge, dangerous cartel of criminals. "So, that's why," Yukito murmured. "Those 2 idiots gave me a rank up's worth of points." "Indeed," she nodded. "You've worked hard." She added, "Those 2 men had the strength of silver-ranked adventurers themselves." Yukito blinked in disbelief. "Seriously? If it weren't for luck, I'd have been finished." He accepted the silver badge in his hands, murmuring, "Guess I just got lucky again." The receptionist chuckled. "There it is again. Modesty suits a silver rank. Good luck on your future climbs into the deeper floors." She reminded him of the system: bronze adventurers down to floor 10, silver down to floor 30, gold, no limits. Yukito placed the silver pendant around his neck. It gleamed faintly, like a promise. He already knew his next goal: reach the 20th floor. "Be careful," the receptionist advised gently. "That floor gives even pros trouble." She sighed, adding, "And please, don't go alone. It's too dangerous." Yukito smiled. "I'll keep that in mind. Thanks for worrying." He turned toward the exit as the woman behind the counter watched him go, an admiring smile lingering on her face. "I've grown up faster than I imagined," Yukito thought, grinning. Though honestly, meeting those bandits, pure luck again. Just then, a deep voice called out, "Excuse me, young man." Yukito turned. It was an elderly man in a sharp suit and cylinder hat. "May I have a moment of your time?" he asked politely. Yukito nodded, curious. "You're the adventurer who caught those criminals, aren't you?" the stranger said. The man's voice tightened as he read from a paper. "Yamada Jinbei, thief and murderer. Hashimoto Hiroshi, sane crimes. Both worth 1 million yen each." Yukito replied calmly, "Yes, they ambushed me first." The man's face was still hard to see beneath his hat's brim. Suddenly, he grabbed Yukito's hand, trembling slightly, and whispered a tearful thank you. Yukito froze, unsure what to say or do. Then the man tore 2 wanted posters from the wall and shouted, "Those monsters, they killed my son." His voice cracked. "The police couldn't even corner them, and yet you succeeded." His hands quivered with emotion. Yukito shook his head. "Please, don't thank me, I was just doing my job." Still, the old man bowed deeply. His gratitude was genuine, his relief overwhelming. Watching him, Yukito felt something stir. This man's grief and gratitude hit deeper than any praise he'd gotten before. "Now," the man said softly, "I can finally bring good news to my boy's grave." Yukito looked at him, momentarily speechless. "I don't think anyone's ever thanked me like that," he thought. He glanced down at his own hands, feeling the weight of those words. Saving lives, it actually meant something. For a brief moment, a thought crossed his mind. Maybe he could do more. Maybe he could change things. But he immediately shook his head with a laugh. "Don't get ahead of yourself, clown. You're not saving the world." He rubbed his temples, trying to calm his emotions before they ran wild. "First mom," he reminded himself. "That's what matters now. One goal at a time," he whispered. "That's all I need." Meanwhile, deep within a torchlit dungeon, angry voices echoed between cold stone walls. A lone kerosene lamp flickered over a rough table littered with daggers and blades of every kind. The man pacing the room was furious, slamming his fists on the table hard enough to rattle the weapons. "If the others end up the same way, I'll never pay the tax to Gromula," he roared. He snatched a dagger from the pile, breathing heavily. On the table lay a newspaper. A photo of Takahashi Yukito stared back at him, that same calm face. With a vicious snarl, the man stabbed the dagger right into Yukito's printed face. "I'll end you. You hear me?" After a few moments, he straightened up, forcing himself to breathe. He needed to think clearly. "That brat's not normal," he admitted. "Anyone who could kill Yamada and Hashimoto alone, he's dangerous." But power doesn't matter," he sneered, narrowing his eyes. "Everyone runs out of luck eventually." The moment the leader of the Crimson Hands took an interest in him, Yukito's luck had just expired. Some days later, Yukito descended once again, making quick work through the dungeon until he reached the 15th floor. He stood on a jagged plateau, the lonely mountain known as the Peak of Death. Narrow paths wound between the cliffs, the terrain like a deadly maze. Team adventurers avoided this place. It was too hard to move as a group here. Yukito observed several struggling to navigate. Perfect, he thought. The 15th floor is quiet, the kind of place criminals love to hide. He swung his sword into a wall of rock, the impact echoing down the cliffs. The sound caught several eyes nearby. Alone, unarmored, but confident, Yukito pulled all attention to himself. This is my kind of arena, he thought. A stage for lone hunters. Here, he could train freely, master his skills before the 20th floor. He tightened his grip on his blade and charged toward a massive bird monster overhead. His goal had once been only to hunt silver slimes. But maybe he'd pushed them too hard. They'd stop spawning altogether. Time for a new plan, fight everything. "Let's make today count," he said, eyes blazing. One after another, monsters fell before him, feathers, scales, and claws flying. A giant hawk, a rampaging armadillo, a one-eyed beast, even a massive bear, all defeated. From them he collected rare loot, a bow, a sword, and enchanted gloves, a solid haul. But he didn't realize it. Eyes had been watching him the entire time. Behind distant rocks, the leader of the Crimson Hands analyzed every move. Light armor, silver slime sword, moves alone. He smirked. "No doubt about it. That's Takahashi Yukito, the new silver-ranked hero." The criminal clenched his fists. "This bastard dares step on my turf?" But then he took a deep breath, calming down. No, not yet. He would wait. Watch. Strike when the time is perfect. And so, all that day, the gang boss remained hidden in the shadows, tracking every motion Yukito made. Eventually, he saw the boy sit down, taking a casual break, unaware of the eyes behind him. A new plan began to form in the leader's mind. The man said quietly. "I don't even need to attack him myself." Getting to his feet, he turned away, his boots crunching on the rocky floor. This was his domain, the 15th floor, ruled not by monsters, but by him. After all, even dungeons follow the law of nature. Predators always climb to the top. The gang leader smirked. He already knew how to use this situation to his advantage. By thinning out the number of predators, he could manipulate the dungeon's ecosystem and reach his real goal. With that wicked thought, he set his plan in motion. His twisted idea? Increase the total number of monsters and control their movement. And disturbingly, his plan worked perfectly. Within hours, monster populations began to skyrocket, spreading chaos through every corner of the dungeon. The next night, the Crimson Hands leader rested in his den, then opened his bloodshot eyes with one simple realization. It was time. A perfect accident for Takahashi Yukito. That was his brilliant idea. Another adventurer would just disappear in the claws of monsters. Nothing unusual. No one would even question it. Just one more tragedy inside a deadly dungeon. Smirking, he checked the pouch on his belt, a special mixture that repelled monster insects. Everything was going according to plan. There was only one step left before his scheme was complete. The man whispered a sharp command. His magic signal pulsed through the dungeon, summoning predatory insects. "Go," he hissed. "Rip that fool apart, don't even leave his bones." A cruel grin spread across his face as he imagined Yukito's end. Meanwhile, completely unaware of the plot, Takahashi was deep in the dungeon, finishing another hunt and earning points. He had just brought down a massive wild boar when something strange caught his attention. Faint buzz, then louder, growing rapidly. Within seconds, the sky above him turned dark, as if night had fallen instantly. He looked up, puzzled. What the hell? It wasn't clouds. It was an entire swarm of giant cicadas, and they were lethal. One look told him he stood no chance against numbers like these. Heart pounding, Yukito turned and ran. Need a team. Where do adventurers usually gather on this floor? He thought frantically. It was hard to think clearly with death buzzing right above him. Then, from memorying, a faint spark. There's a base somewhere on this floor, a red mud cave. He'd heard of it before in his past life. That place used to help adventurers defend the Peak of Death, but when he checked his map, nothing. No base marker at all. Ahead, a massive chasm split the ground like a wound in the earth. He hesitated for a moment but knew standing still meant dying. Using his sword as a makeshift anchor, he thrust it into the wall and rappelled straight down the cliff. Landing hard, he leaped and grabbed a nearby rock wall, scaling back up toward the opposite ledge. The red-tinted soil, yes, this was it, the legendary red mud cave. "Hey, anyone here? I need help," he shouted, banging on the rocky wall. No answer. The cave stayed silent, motionless as stone. He looked up and froze. The black cloud of insects was nearly upon him. Turning back to the wall, he pressed his shoulder against it and drew his sword, ready for a last stand. "To hell with it," he said, swinging at the wall with everything he had. The impact shattered part of the rock, revealing a tunnel, and what lay inside made his blood run cold. Rows of people, men and women, tied up, mouths gagged, barely dressed. What the hell is this?" he whispered in disbelief. The prisoner stared at him, eyes wide with desperate hope. "Don't tell me I just uncovered some sick underground trafficking ring," he muttered under his breath. Nobody answered. They couldn't. Their mouths were sealed shut. It was obvious these weren't criminals. They were victims. Without wasting a second, Yukito charged forward, cutting through ropes with lightning speed. His blade flashed like a streak of light as he freed one after another. In seconds, everyone was liberated, barely even able to register how fast it happened. Silent tears rolled down some faces. They had already accepted death, until now. "What happened here?" Yukito demanded, scanning their frightened faces. One man stammered, explaining they were ambushed by strong men and knocked unconscious. "So they didn't kill you," Yukito muttered. "Then they planned to sell you." His gut twisted. "A criminal trafficking ring inside the dungeon, huh?" He looked around. Wait, this should have been an adventurer supply base later on. Then it hit him. Of course, I came here too early. This base didn't exist yet. In his past life, he remembered stories about this exact cave being found later by law enforcement. They had turned this nightmare into a safe point for adventurers. But right now, it was still a den of criminals. Yukito clenched his fists. In his previous life, he'd cared for no one, just hunting slimes and chasing levels for 10 long years. Maybe that's why he'd lost sense of time, of what really mattered. But now wasn't the moment for guilt. He forced his thoughts away. First priority: survive the swarm and protect the people here. This unexpected turn of events left his mind spinning, but there was no time to freeze. "Focus," he told himself. "Time for action." He raised his voice. "Listen up, everyone." The newly freed captives looked at him, still panicked, trembling. Yukito pointed toward the entrance. "There's a swarm of death cicadas heading straight here." Outside, the monstrous sound grew louder. The ground shook as the sky darkened again. Too many monsters, way too many for unarmed civilians. Some of the prisoners peered outside, then recoiled in horror at the black mass in the sky. Panic swept through them, chaos, crying, shouting. Yukito shouted over the noise, "We don't have time. If you want to live, fight beside me. That's our only shot." Many stared doubtfully at him. How could they possibly survive something like this? One frightened woman cried, "But we don't have weapons." Yukito answered sharply, "The crawler stole them, remember?" Then his tone softened into a confident grin. "But don't worry, I can fix that." Opening his system inventory, he waved his hand. One by one, glowing items materialized: swords, bows, armor, and shields, flooding the cave's floor. Gasps erupted from the crowd. The pile of equipment was massive. "And before you ask," Yukito added, "yeah, I can transfer all of this to you." The disbelief in their eyes was almost comical. "These are all rare goods," said one of the women in awe. "Where did you get all this?" More whispers followed. Who was this kid? None of them had ever seen him before. He was a mystery, both savior and stranger. Quickly, the freed captives scrambled, picking out weapons and armor. Arguments broke out, some grabbing blades, others shields. "Defense first," one man yelled. "No, offense," another barked back. "If we sold this gear," someone muttered, "we'd be rich." "It's yours," Yukito said firmly, nodding. "You owe me nothing. just stand your ground." His voice turned serious. "Only condition, you follow my command." None of them argued. After all, he had just saved their lives. Once armed and armored, their confidence began to return, however faintly. A red-haired archer smiled faintly as she strung her bow. "You're the boss," she said. One by one, everyone nodded. A stocky man even volunteered. "I'll act as bait if needed." "Good," Yukito replied sharply. "Now, listen carefully." As he took a steady breath, fragments of his past life flickered before him, the final moments before his old death. Now, fate had given him another chance to fight, to save lives. "I'll make this count," he thought. "This time, I lead." A small smile passed among the group, but Yukito didn't smile back. His eyes hardened. The time for jokes was over. Standing at the cave entrance, Takahashi Yukito spread out his arms and prepared to command the battlefield once again. The young man quickly realized the narrow cave entrance could be their biggest advantage, a tight choke point where fewer monsters could reach them at once. It wasn't much, but it was something. If they played this smart, they wouldn't face the entire swarm at once. One narrow path against countless monsters. This was their only shot. Takahashi raised his voice, firm and commanding. He told everyone to take down as many of those insects as possible. No hesitation, no mercy. His eyes shifted from one face to another, measuring their resolve. Some trembled in fear, others clenched their weapons tighter, eyes burning with determination. Yukito believed deep down that if they worked together, they could win this, even if just barely. Their new captain lifted his sword high, its blade catching what little light remained, and shouted the command everyone had been waiting for. "Battle!" As soon as the monstrous insects swarmed into the cave, Yukito charged forward. He cut them down one after another, his movements sharp and precise. His plan worked perfectly. The narrow cave funneled the monsters, letting them handle them one by one instead of all at once. Yukito's sword sliced through the air. Beside him, allies fought with equal desperation. A red-haired archer loosed arrow after arrow with deadly accuracy, while a small-framed mage unleashed bursts of raw energy that scorched the ground. Together, their ragtag team managed to hold the line against the relentless swarm, but there were too many. The cave's entrance vanished behind a wall of writhing insects. The endless swarm kept coming, their screams echoing through the tunnels. Still, the humans didn't stop. They fought for their lives, every breath, every second. Dozens of bugs lay crushed at their feet, yet hundreds more replaced them. Despair began creeping in. The ex-prisoners fighting alongside Yukito started to lose hope. There was no end. The deeper they went, the more monsters poured in. Was this really how it would end? Takahashi gritted his teeth. Their defense wasn't holding up the way he'd hoped. He started to question himself. Could he really turn this around, or were they already doomed? Suddenly, the cave trembled violently. Pebbles fell first, then huge stones began crashing down from the ceiling. The captain immediately ordered his squad to fall back but stay in formation. Panic surged through the group as they sprinted deeper into the tunnel. Yet no matter how far they went, the swarm kept coming. There was no end in sight. The rocks cracked louder and louder. If the tunnel collapsed, they'd be buried alive. Fear spread like wildfire. People began believing this was their final moment. Yukito forced himself to focus through the chaos, scanning the battlefield for any opening, and then he saw it, a small glimmer of hope amidst the madness, a chance to turn things around. Without thinking twice, Takahashi sprinted toward a pile of scattered supplies and grabbed a crate of explosives. He shouted over the roaring echoes, "Listen up everyone, there's dynamite in here, find every last piece." One of the fighters hesitated. "Explosives? We can use that as a weapon," but the others didn't wait. Desperation fueled them. Even the girls charged forward, hunting for every stick of dynamite. They all knew this might be their only way out. Hours passed. They fought tooth and nail against the relentless cicadas. Every victory bought them only seconds. It was exhausting, but they had to keep going. The only thing keeping them alive was sheer willpower. By now, only a third of the cave remained intact. The walls shook violently. They realized there was nowhere else to run. One of the mages screamed. Her mana was nearly gone. Cracks ran through the collapsing stone around them. Takahashi tried to maintain control, but even he could see it. The cave wouldn't hold much longer. He closed his eyes for a second, realizing the truth. There was only one path left. "Attention!" Yukito's voice cut through the chaos, and everyone turned toward him. "Give me all the explosives you found," he yelled. There was no time to argue. Everyone obeyed immediately, though fear flickered in their eyes. Could that much dynamite really take down thousands of monsters? One of them muttered in disbelief. It felt hopeless, like trying to scoop water with bare hands. But Yukito didn't hesitate. He caught the dynamite, his eyes sharp. He had made his choice. He planned to blow the cave itself. If the ceiling collapsed, the rocks would crush the insects completely. He knew these monsters were dumb. They always attacked whatever they feared most, which meant they would all come for him. Just then, someone screamed. There was a crack in the ceiling. Everything was starting to collapse. "Retreat," the captain shouted. "Fall back now." One of the men looked back at Yukito, shouting, "Are you insane? You're just gonna die down there?" They all wanted to know, did he really have a plan, or was this his final stand? Yukito smiled faintly. "Trust me," that was all he said. And then, he was alone face to face with an endless storm of killer insects. He knew the risk. But sometimes, risking everything was the only way to win. He armed the X-113 explosives. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. Just then, the system warned him. He had no detonation skill, only a 50% chance of success. Because of his hunter class, it dropped again 25%. The dynamite was damaged, but he trusted his luck. He pressed the trigger and somehow, it worked. The explosion hurled him backward straight into the abyss. Even as he fell, the swarm chased after him. He fought mid-air, slashing wildly. He had no proof his plan would work, but faith was all he had left. Twisting mid-air, he tried to stabilize himself like an acrobat fighting gravity itself. His silver sword flashed in the dark, still firm in his grip. He unleashed his dissecting kick again, the move that never failed him before. One last monster remained, its body still twitched, their eyes locked. Predator against survivor. Yukito whispered to himself, "It ends here." He waited for the perfect opening, then unleashed a critical strike. The crushing blow launched him upward, just enough to escape the collapsing depth below. He landed hard, gasping but smiling. His gamble had worked. Those watching from above were frozen in disbelief. That hit should have killed him. They held their breath, praying he wouldn't fall again. Yukito jammed his sword into the cliff, trying to anchor himself. But this time, the blade slipped free. He began falling again, plunging into darkness. It looked hopeless. And then, a rope snapped from above, looping perfectly around his arm. He grabbed it just in time. His team was pulling him back with everything they had. One by one, they dug their feet in, gritting their teeth, hauling him upward. Finally, Yukito reached solid ground. Exhausted, but alive, he let out a small, relieved laugh. Around them, the cave was filled with rubble and piles of crushed cicadas. Sitting down on a boulder, Yukito stared at the destruction. It was over. For the first time, he felt proud. They had survived the impossible. "We actually did it," one of the survivors said, voice trembling. "Not a single casualty." Takahashi smiled faintly. The system confirmed it. Countless cicadas destroyed. He was promoted to rank fighter, his damage output 20%, level up to 3, and a new skill, Warrior's Intuition. Somewhere else, a furious bandit slammed his foot into a table. He held his head in rage. Takahashi had ruined everything. Their base was gone. Hold. That failure wouldn't go unpunished. The man knew his own life was now at stake. He grabbed the bottle and shouted, "All this damn mess because of that fool." Uncorking it, he took a long, angry gulp, then hurled the half-empty bottle into the wall. It shattered instantly. "Takahashi Yukito," he growled, "I'll kill you myself." His rage burned so deep, revenge was the only thing he cared about now. Meanwhile, oblivious to the villain's fury, Yukito returned to the company's office. As soon as he walked in, everyone went silent, then began whispering, glancing his way. He noticed how people looked at him differently now. The woman at the counter smiled. "You were amazing, again." They now called him the Mountain Crusher, the man who saved them all. Every guild in town was begging him to join, but Yukito politely declined. He was in a hurry and not in the mood for small talk. Deep down, he knew he couldn't join a team yet. There were other things he needed to do. His thoughts drifted to the elixir for his mother. It would take time and a lot of effort, and under the current system, crafting it anytime soon seemed impossible. The odds of getting rare ingredients were basically near zero. Yukito analyzed the numbers. The bigger the guild, the smaller the chances of landing rare loot. Statistics cold and brutal. But instead of frustration, he just smirked. Solo clearing dungeons was how he'd always done things, and maybe that's exactly how he'd keep doing them. After finishing all his errands at the office, Yukito finally stepped outside. The day had been long, but tonight he could finally go home. At home, his mom and little sister were waiting dinner already laid out, steam rising in the cozy light. The smell alone made his stomach growl. He hadn't realized how hungry he was after everything that happened in the dungeon. Before eating, the family bowed their heads, saying a short prayer of gratitude, a rare moment of quiet peace. Then finally dinner. Takahashi dug in, savoring every bite like it was a feast from the heavens. The flavors brought him memories he couldn't quite place, maybe from his past life, a life where even simple food like this felt precious. They had never been rich, but family dinners like these were always special. His sister Nozomi grinned proudly. "Brother, you already hit level 20? That's amazing." Their mother smiled softly, but worry crept into her voice. "Are you sure you can handle it, Yukito? They say that after level 20, things get much harder." Nozomi nodded, her tone turning serious for once. "Yeah, only 15% of hunters ever make it past level 20. But before she could check her phone again, their mother sighed. "No phones during dinner, dear." Yukito looked at them calmly. "Don't worry, have you both forgotten what I can do?" His mother smiled with pride, glancing at the wall behind her. Photos and newspaper clippings of her son hung there, proof of how far he'd come. Then, she closed her eyes for a moment, as if fighting back tears she didn't want them to see. When she could finally speak again, her voice was soft but trembling. "Just take care of yourself. No parent wants to lose their child, not even for the sake of others." Those words hit Yukito deeply. He couldn't speak for a moment. A memory from his past life flashed in his mind, burying his mother, broken and helpless. He looked up at her and said gently, "Mom, no kid wants to see their parent cry. Please don't worry." She opened her mouth to respond, but Nozomi cut in. "Mom, just let him be. You know you can't stop him." Their mother chuckled tearfully, and Nozomi smirked. "Brother, you're too stubborn. Once you set your mind on something, no one can change it." The woman's eyes shimmered with tears again. For a second, she saw her late husband in both her children's faces. Yukito nodded slowly. "I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing it because I want to." His mother fell silent after that. The only sound left was the quiet clatter of dishes. Yukito stared into his glass of water, seeing his reflection ripple. In my past life, he thought, I couldn't save her. The pain was still there, sharp, fresh. But now he had a second chance. To bury that failure forever, he needed one thing, the legendary magic elixir. After finishing his meal, Yukito joined his hands together. "Thanks for the food," he said with a grateful smile. As he walked down the stairs later, his mind was already racing ahead, running scenarios, formulating strategies. Suddenly, the system window flashed before his eyes. Quest initiated, Tokyo Dungeon, level 20, the Stubborn Alchemist, a wall beyond logic. Yukito's gaze steeled. Sword in hand, he sprinted straight into danger. The enemies he faced were twisted hybrids, half machine, half skeleton, glowing in a harsh red aura. He remembered the warnings. This floor's monsters were inorganic, lifeless killers made of metal and bone. Taking a deep breath, he moved like lightning, striking two enemies almost at the same time. Each hit echoed through the tunnel. These things didn't bleed, didn't feel, cold and precise like machines. Some had jagged wings that sliced the air as they attacked from above. Yukito noted their movements. They fought in predictable patterns, yet programs running commands. That gave him a slim but vital edge. A few quick, powerful swings of his sword shattered the obstacles before him into fragments. But then he froze. Up ahead, something massive stirred in the shadows. A towering stone figure stepped into the light, its single burning eye glaring. A cyclops. Its aura burned red and violent. Even before it moved, Yukito knew this fight would be on another level. He focused, memorizing the monster's movements. Every twitch, every motion could mean the difference between life and death. The beast raised its gigantic fist. One hit could end him. Yukito darted aside just as the punch slammed into the ground, sending tremors through the floor. He kept moving, dodging blow after blow. Brute force wasn't enough. He needed strategy, agility, precision. Time to use his jumps, feel out its rhythm, and spot its weak point. Finally, he saw it. The core. With one perfect strike, he pierced it clean through. The giant stumbled, then crashed down. Breathing hard but unscathed, Yukito landed smoothly as the fallen beast crumbled behind him. Another victory. One more step closer to his goal. In front of him stood a massive, ornate door. He pushed it open, whispering to himself, "It's time. From this moment on, my new life begins." A blinding golden light spilled out from the crack in the door. Yukito stepped into a vast, dome-shaped chamber glowing with strange energy. The floor was inscribed with mysterious runes swirling in intricate patterns. The heavy door shut behind him with a deep boom. No way back now. At the center of the chamber stood a towering stone guardian, moss clinging to its ancient body. Even its shoulders were engraved with the same runes on the floor. Yukito recognized it instantly. An ancient golem, the guardian of this level's treasure. A level 20 boss, the barrier between him and everything he fought for. Its massive frame radiated sheer power. Every movement shook the hall. But this was exactly the battle he had come for. Yukito gripped his sword tight, no turning back now. He darted forward and struck first. For such a giant, its movements were surprisingly slow. Yukito vaulted upward, slashing cleanly across the golem's stone head. His plan was simple: break the armor, find the weak point, strike true. But unknown to him, someone else was watching. A silent figure lurked in the shadows near the doorway. It was the bandit leader, the same man whose plan had failed before. He watched, smirking, hoping this time luck wouldn't save the boy. Suddenly, the symbols beneath Yukito began to glow red light, filling the room. And then, the impossible happened. From the very center of the pentagram, another golem began to rise. "No way," Yukito muttered. "There's a second one?" The new creature fully emerged, its glowing core shimmering blue and purple. Bigger, meaner. Yukito glanced back toward the door, a chill running through him. Two bosses at once? That could only mean one thing. Someone triggered it. But that made no sense. He couldn't sense anyone nearby. Still, his instincts screamed danger. Someone was here, someone unseen. Yukito spun around, scanning the chamber for the intruder. Then his body froze. A dagger flew straight toward his back. But reflexes kicked in. His instinct saved him. He twisted just in time. The blade whizzed past. With a quick counter, Yukito slashed downward, deflecting the weapon midair. It spun away like a broken boomerang, crashing harmlessly into the wall. This wasn't coincidence. Someone wanted him dead. Hiding in the shadows, the bandit snarled. How is he still alive? The man clenched his jaw. He can't just be lucky. That reaction speed, it's unnatural. Gathering himself, he drew another dagger, this one dripping faintly with green venom. No matter, I'll finish this myself. He had once underestimated Yukito, thinking he was just some naive kid. Not this time. Before coming here, the bandit had learned a crucial detail. Defeating the ancient golem required at least 4 people. Though he planned something nasty, to sneak in and trigger a second golem spawn. And because of his advanced thief class, the golems wouldn't even recognize him as an enemy. Hidden under the catwalk skill, he moved silently through the shadows, invisible and untouchable. His grin widened as he slipped closer, his steps leaving no sound. Activating Shadow Twin, his speed blurred. For a moment, it looked like there were two of him. "Let's see you survive this, hero," he whispered. "Two ancient golems against one man, an unwinnable fight. Just in case," the leader pulled his trump card, an S-rank invisibility cloak that erased his presence completely. Now, he was certain, no one in this room could detect him, not even Takahashi. 3 against 1. Unfair, maybe, but thieves don't play fair, and he wasn't done yet. His daggers were coated in poison just enough to paralyze on contact. Even one tiny cut could end Yukito's fight before it began. Another dagger cut through the air toward Takahashi's back. The bandit didn't even blink, a perfect throw. But, a near miss again. The blade passed so close it scraped his armor, but no damage. "Impossible," the leader hissed. How did he an antidote under that weak gear? He tightened his grip on another blade. No matter, he just needed to keep the boy distracted long enough. With a flick of his wrist, the air filled with flashing steel, dozens of 4-bladed knives flying at once. Traps are my specialty, he muttered, eyes gleaming. He didn't need anyone else anymore, not after all the failures. This time, he vowed to do it alone, and finally, destroy Takahashi Yukito with his own hands. The bandit leader grinned wickedly, setting up his favorite kind of trick, live barbed wire traps. They'd never failed him before, and he was confident this time would be no different. The moment Yukito stepped in range, the wire snapped tight around him, trapping his movements. The villain sneered, his plan was working perfectly. Watching from the shadows, the bandit chuckled in satisfaction. "Soon, those golems will finish what I started," he thought, sure of his victory. Meanwhile, Yukito didn't even realize the full scale of the web closing in around him. He was fighting, unaware someone was cheering for his death. Surrounded by not one but 2 ancient golems, the young hero kept slashing at their armored shells, desperate to break through to the glowing cores beneath their only weak points. The bandit, pleased with his handiwork, relaxed against the wall, ready to enjoy the show like it was some gruesome theater performance. But his smirk vanished instantly when Yukito suddenly spun mid-battle and lunged, sword aimed straight toward him. Cold sweat ran down the thief's face. Impossible, how could he see me? Yukito met his eyes with a teasing grin. "What's wrong? Run out of your cheap magic tricks already?" The bandit froze. His blood ran cold. How could he possibly see me? Yukito calmly pointed his sword. "You should come down from there. Hiding doesn't suit you." Without waiting for an answer, he flicked one of the thief's own daggers back at him. "What's this? You like me that much you had to follow me into my battle?" The thief dodged at the last second, barely saving himself. How? How did you see me?" Yukito smiled faintly. "Let's just say my hunting instincts helped out. Pretty standard skill, didn't you know that?" "Liar," the bandit roared. "A low-level skill like that can't see through my stealth." Yukito smirked. "Even if I'm lying, so what? Gonna run away now, like a scared mutt?" The insult hit deep. The thief's face twisted with rage, blood pulsing in his temple. A vein bulged on his forehead as he drew both blades, rage shaking his voice. "I'll show you who's the real mutt." He charged forward, screaming that he was far superior to Takahashi in every way. But Yukito stood his ground, sword down, gaze steady. He didn't flinch, he was waiting. The clash came like thunder. Metal struck metal, sending a spray of sparks across the battlefield. The recoil threw the bandit backward, while Yukito didn't move an inch, his grip unbreakable. With a cool smile, Yukito said, "You should save those cocky lines for the winner, don't you think?" One clean motion, and Yukito flicked his opponent's weapon aside like it was nothing. The bandit stumbled, yelling furiously, "When did you find out I was here? Tell me, damn it, was it your so-called warrior intuition?" Yukito said nothing. He didn't need to explain, his silence said it all. Truth was, he had activated his warrior's intuition long ago. That skill could sense danger before it even struck. A system message flashed in his mind. Skill mastery achieved. Detection coverage expanded. It was like a radar in his head, pinpointing every threat within range. The bandit's stealth was already useless. The thief dashed forward again, snarling, "You're fast, kid, but not fast enough." "Thanks for the compliment," Yukito shot back, steadying his sword for another clash. Their blades collided again and again. The bandit sneered, "You're still just a low-rank warrior." His movements were fast, confident. He believed his agility alone guaranteed victory. "You see this," he taunted, "mid-swing, speed, precision, finesse, all mine." He wasn't just bragging. His blade cut into Yukito's arm, blood blooming as proof. He grinned. "I'll admit, you've adapted to these conditions better than most," but in his arrogance he dropped his guard for one short moment. A fatal mistake. Yukito was already behind him. With a sharp turn, Yukito's sword came down for the finishing blow, but the bandit's instincts kicked in. He rolled midair in a perfect dodge, hissing, "Not yet." Landing smoothly, he smirked. "Your situation's still hopeless." Yukito didn't bother to reply. Instead, he unleashed a skill, beasting. The attack tore through the air, but the bandit laughed mockingly. "A guaranteed hit, huh? Cute." He countered with butterfly dance, his silhouette splitting into multiple afterimages. The world around Yukito blurred. For a second, it looked like he was surrounded by countless copies of his enemy. "Damn," Yukito muttered under his breath. "Did I miss again?" The thief charged again, launching from the ground with blinding speed. Perfect setup, he said smugly. Two conflicting skills, let's see who folds first. His words turned into venom. It always comes down to stats, kid, and yours just don't measure up. His blade slashed again, this time cutting deep into Yukito's leg. The hero winced, his balance wavering. The bandit cackled, "Face it, you're too slow, you'll never catch me." Before either could swing again, one of the massive golems turned toward the chaos and fired a laser straight at them. The beam exploded nearby, and only Yukito's lightning reflexes saved him from being vaporized. The bandit laughed insanely. What a show! The 20th floor really is a blast. He twirled his twin blades, making mocking gestures. "Come on, hero, let's keep dancing." His voice dripped with arrogance. "I could dodge these golems all day. Their moves are as predictable as clockwork. You bought that info from the guild too, right?" He sneered. "We're not so different." Yukito ignored him, blocking another blow, eyes laser-focused. Their fight raged on, weaving between the stomping legs of the twin golems as earth-shattering strikes rained down around them. Suddenly, sharp pain tore through Yukito's leg. He gasped. Luck had finally turned on him. Looking down, he saw blood and a steel spike sticking out from his boot. He'd stepped into one of the bandit's traps. The bandit hissed gleefully. "My babies never miss." He stood tall, smirking. "No one intrudes on the 20th floor and lives." This fight was over before it even began. He laughed, activating his scorpion point technique. Blow after blow poured down. Yukito's defense began to crumble. The next strike exploded with magic, sending Yukito flying backward, his sword torn from his hands. He hit the hard floor and his vision blurred. Darkness closed in. His sword clattered far away, echoing through the chamber. For a brief moment, Yukito's eyes flickered open and he realized he was defenseless. "It's over," the bandit shouted triumphantly, blades whirling. Victory gleamed in his eyes. Both swords shot toward Yukito, their edges flashing. The hero looked terrified just for a split second. Then his face changed. A smirk, a tongue stuck out mockingly. "Just kidding." With a snap of his fingers, a hidden spell triggered. The ground under the thief shimmered violet. "Wah!" the bandit yelped. Energy flared, forming a swirling purple sphere around him. He looked down in horror. This is a gravity trap?" Yukito tilted his head. "You said there were no irregularities on this floor, right? Guess you were wrong." The thief gritted his teeth, realizing he couldn't even move his mouth properly. What is this?" Yukito chuckled. "Your intel works fine for normal fights, but against me, all your fancy data means nothing." After all, he grinned, no one expected some idiot to fight the 20th floor boss alone, right? Trapped in gravity, all the bandit could whisper was one shaky word. "Really?" Then, boom, one of the ancient golems fired again, this time hitting his location dead on. Yukito barely rolled clear of the impact, dust and stone flying everywhere. Management changed. He joked through the chaos. "You should have read the memo." He looked down at the trap man and smirked. "You call yourself a thief, but you didn't even notice my trap?" The bandit screamed, "No, that's impossible. You're nothing but low-level trash. You should have died like a normal warrior." But while he shouted, he didn't notice. The golem's massive fist was descending right above him. The impact shattered the gravity field entirely. The thief hit the floor hard, coughing up blood. Gasping for breath, he groaned. That hurts." The giant golem reached down, pinching the broken man between its stone fingers, lifting him like a doll. Then, without hesitation, it dropped him. The thud echoed through the chamber like a final bell. His trembling hand reached out weakly, covered in blood. His eyes filled with disbelief. His revenge was gone. "How?" he wheezed. "How did I miss the traps of a low-level warrior standing tall?" Yukito answered coldly. "Like I said, you should never underestimate intuition." The dying bandit coughed, leaving red streaks across the floor. Yukito looked down at him one last time. "Save your strength," he said calmly. "You'll need it. If you're still alive after I finish this boss," he added, turning back toward the golem, "I'll hand you over to the police myself." But the bandit wasn't done yet. Blood spilling from his mouth, he pressed his hands to the ground, forcing himself up. His voice was hoarse, almost muttering to no one. "Don't mock me." Yukito's enhanced hearing caught every word. It sounded more curse than speech. Then the thief screamed, fury twisting his face. "If I'm going down," his eyes flared red, "then I'll drag you to hell with me." The bandit screamed wildly as glowing ammo belts wrapped around his chest. This beauty is leagues beyond your pathetic toys," he shouted, laughing like a madman. Yukito froze, eyes widening. "Are you completely insane? You'll kill yourself." The man's crazed grin said everything. He wasn't bluffing. He'd lost it. His hands trembled only for a moment before pressing the confirm key on his system monitor. "Let's end this," he yelled. A blinding explosion erupted, fire roaring outward like the wrath of a god. The impact wave tore through the chamber, flinging debris everywhere and straight toward Yukito. The floor cracked under his feet, stone crumbling apart, gravity pulling him down. No, not now," he gasped, but it was too late. The ground gave way completely. The hero plummeted into darkness, swallowed by the void below. Time blurred. Then came the crash. Yukito hit the stone floor, pain shooting through his body. Ouch, okay. That really hurt, he groaned, rubbing the back of his head. As his eyes adjusted to the dark, he tilted his gaze upward, a gaping hole high above. How far did I fall? A speck of light from above looked impossibly distant. Climbing back up was out of the question. After catching his breath, he sat up, his jaw dropping in disbelief. Wait, is this a hidden chamber? He barely had time to blink before a shadow descended from above, a golem crashing down in pursuit. You've got to be kidding me, Yukito muttered, forcing himself to stand, fists clenched despite the pain. A grim thought hit him. I'm cornered completely. Heart pounding, he glanced around the room, desperate for options. There had to be a way out. Then he saw it, through a crack in the stone, a faint glow, some kind of passage, and something shining inside. What's that? Straining his eyes, he realized it was a treasure chest, radiating with magical light. No way, he whispered, a shaky smile foaming. A secret room and treasure? Guess luck hasn't ditched me yet. Determination fired in his chest. He had to reach that chest no matter what. But before he could move, the second golem, the one the bandit had triggered, thundered into the chamber too. The small space shook violently. Trapped between two bosses, Yukito gritted his teeth. I can't beat them with brute force, I'll have to outsmart them. His eyes locked onto the glowing chest. Looks like I'm betting everything on you. With that, he sprinted forward, vaulting off loose rocks to dodge between the stomping legs of one golem. His jumps were fast and reckless. He had to reach that chest before either monster blocked him. Each surface he pushed off could give way at any moment. One slip, and he'd fall again. He leaped onto a golem's shoulder, using it as a launch pad, propelling himself upward toward the treasure. The glowing chest was right there, within reach. Almost there, but then, from the other side of the room, the second boss opened its mouth and fired a blazing laser. The beam struck him from behind, knocking him off balance midair. His sword flew from his hand, clanging against the stone far below. He crashed hard, coughing up blood as the shock rattled his entire body. Gasping for breath, he forced a weak grin. Still breathing, good sign. But when he looked up, his blood ran cold. The golem was lifting one massive foot. No, he muttered. The creature was about to crush him where he lay. For the first time in a long while, real fear gripped him. His luck wasn't helping this time. His body refused to move. The wound was too deep. He could only watch as shadow swallowed him. Then impact. Blinding pain ripped through his body as bone crunched beneath stone. The golem's massive foot had crushed his legs completely. Blood trailed from his lips to the cracked floor. His vision blurred, consciousness flickered, but he slammed a fist on the ground, groaning, forcing his will to stay alive. Not yet, not like this. The pain was so sharp it made him nauseous. He retched, trembling violently. Lying there, he could see it, the chest, shining like salvation. His sword lay next to it, just out of reach. The golem lifted its foot again, ready to stomp him in the dust. He was out of time. Every heartbeat was torture. But somehow, despite screaming agony, Yukito dragged himself forward, inch by inch. For Mom, he whispered, I can't die yet. Through sheer will alone, he reached the chest and forced it open with trembling hands. A surge of blinding blue light exploded outward. A gem floated inside, glowing with untamed magic. Yukito's mouth curled into a weak smile. Ha! Guess I was right. Within the light lay a bracelet crafted around the gem, pulsing with immense mana. But the golem's shadow loomed above him again. The next hit would finish him. He only had seconds left. He reached out, grabbed the bracelet, and slipped it onto his wrist. This is it. I've got it, he said, barely breathing, which means I've already won. Luck's still with me. The bracelet hummed, its power beginning to awaken. It was his one final card, a miracle tool. The artifact's name flashed before him. Bracelet of Changeability, a rare item that could move its user anywhere. He quickly scanned the info. Teleportation? Then that's my way out. But the golem was right there, raising its fist for the final strike. Yukito tried to activate the bracelet, but the odds were low. It wasn't meant for his class. Beads of sweat rolled down his temple. Every fraction of a second mattered. The instant before the golem's fist hit, the bracelet flared brilliantly. The stone fist smashed the ground where Yukito had just been. Floaty. Silence followed. No movement, no sound. Dust settled over the destruction. Then click. The bracelet glowed once more. Yukito reappeared behind the golem, his eyes burning with focus. Without hesitation, he drove his sword straight into the monster's glowing heart. Game over, he whispered. The golem roared, its eye flaring red hot. It fired a laser in blind fury. Not realizing who it was targeting, the beam hit the second golem instead. The crimson blast tore through stone and metal, echoing through the room. The second monster staggered. It was still alive, but badly damaged. Good, Yukito muttered. That means you can still feel pain. He vanished again, using the bracelet to blink across the battlefield, appearing right beside the wounded boss. Maber. He raised his sword high, preparing to strike straight into its heart. Suddenly, the enemy jerked violently, disrupting his balance. The golem was trying to stand, forcing Yukito to readjust midair. The other boss swung its arm, trying to snatch him out of the air. Too slow, Yukito barked, reading the move before it landed. He teleported again, reappearing behind yet another weak spot. His blade slashed forward, aiming directly for the exposed crystal core. The golem roared, spinning wildly as the battle reached its fever pitch. With a deafening crash, stone fists swung for his head. But Yukito kept moving, changing position again and again, unpredictable and relentless. "I'll fight," he growled, eyes blazing, "as long as I have to, until my last breath." The golem could feel its strength weakening, its defenses cracking under Yukito's barrage. But no matter how many times it swung, it couldn't catch him. He was everywhere and nowhere at once. Yukito darted between the two titans, slashing, dodging, teleporting, each strike aimed at their glowing cores. Inch by inch, hit after hit, he was breaking them down, one relentless strike at a time. His blows grew heavier, faster, piercing deeper into the stone and into the pulsing heart within. Both golems were heavily damaged now, their cores flickering, unstable but not yet destroyed. Minutes passed, sweat and dust mixing in the storm of combat. Yukito grinned fiercely through the pain. "I don't need luck anymore. I'll keep rolling the dice until I hit the damn 6. Both golems turned at once, their attention locked completely on him. Yukito stood between them, sword in hand, breathing hard but steady. "This is my rebirth," he said softly, "and I'm not backing down." The two monsters roared, both charging their final attacks. They lunged forward together, the ground splitting under their weight. Two massive stone arms swung from both sides, aimed right at the lone warrior, ready to crush him between them. Yukito slammed his palm against the bracelet. Its blue gem erupted in light, and his figure vanished in an instant. The twin golems, unable to stop their momentum, slammed into each other violently, each crushing the other's glowing core with a thunderous crash. The impact shook the entire dungeon. The damage was massive, cracks splitting through their bodies, but still not enough to end them. In a flash of light, Yukito reappeared behind them, calm and focused amid the chaos. "Let's finish this," he whispered, activating Beasting. His sword flashed, striking perfectly through the first golem's heart, shattering its core with a critical hit. Without pause, he turned to the second creature, sprinting forward before the first even hit the ground. This time, he unleashed storm of strikes, his blade a blur of relentless motion. Every blow connected until the final slash pierced deep. The second golem's core shattered with a blinding burst. Two bosses, one warrior. Yukito Takahashi had done the impossible, defeating both in a single fight. The massive stone bodies broke apart and disintegrated, and the exhausted hero collapsed, falling from the high platform into the cloud of dust left behind. He reached for the bracelet midair, hoping for one last teleport, but nothing happened. The item flickered weakly. Damn, usage limit reached. He hit the ground, cushioned by a pile of sand and shattered stone, the remains of his fallen enemies. The system's voice echoed in his mind. "Quest complete. You have slain 2 ancient golems. Reward, legendary class item elixir." As the dust settled, a soft light shimmered before him. 2 orbs materialized. 2 elixirs, both legendary. 2? Yukito laughed breathlessly. "Guess my luck's on fire today." Without hesitation, he uncorked one of the bottles. "No point saving it," he muttered, and downed the entire potion in one swift gulp. A sweet, tangy flavor burst across his tongue. Not bad," he managed before the real magic began. The moment the last drop hit his bloodstream, his body glowed intensely. Threads of green light wrapped around him, pulsing with pure life energy. The shattered bones in his legs began to knit together, muscles reforming in seconds. Every wound, every scratch gone. His body was restored, flawless again. Even his tattered clothes looked clean, as though freshly laundered by magic itself. Standing tall and whole again, Yukito clenched his fists, energy surging through his veins. All right, back in action. Everything was perfect. He'd survived, and now he had the medicine that could finally save his mother. System notification, titles unlocked, survivors +10 defense, slayer of 2 giants, +20 strength, arbiter of law, +20 dexterity. Smiling, Yukito checked his inventory again. There it was. The elixir safe and secure. His plan had worked perfectly. "Now," he sighed, "time to get out of this crazy place." Activating agility boosts, he climbed swiftly up the rocky walls, reaching the main floor in mere seconds. Up top, something caught his eye, a blood-stained cape fluttering in the breeze. It belonged to the bandit. Yukito picked it up, wondering, this should be enough proof of what happened. Folding it neatly, he tucked it under his arm and headed straight for the exit. The dungeon gates opened and sunlight met his face at last. Without wasting a moment, he made for the guild and reported everything that had happened inside. The clerk at the counter turned pale mid-report, rushing away to fetch a supervisor. As expected, the story caused a commotion. A one-man double boss kill? Unheard of. The supervisor demanded an interview on the spot, but Yukito shook his head. He didn't have time for fame or credits. "Can we do that later? I've got somewhere I need to be." And before they could protest, he was already gone. He sprinted out of the building, feet pounding the streets. People turned their heads as he passed, recognizing him instantly. He was already trending, the man who cleared 20 levels and crushed 2 bosses solo. But none of that mattered. Not the headlines, not the praise, not the glory. All of it was for one thing, and one thing only. To save his family, to save his mom. Sometime later, inside a quiet hospital room, the doctor entered holding the test results in trembling hands. Yukito and Nozomi stood together, both waiting breathlessly for the verdict. The doctor smiled broadly. "Congratulations, Ms. Yuki, you're completely healed." The words hit like sunlight. Tears burst forth from everyone at once. Even the doctor looked amazed. "I've never seen an elixir this powerful. Her recovery, it's miraculous." Nozomi threw herself into her mother's arms, laughing and sobbing all at once. Their mother held Yukito's hand tightly. "Thank you for everything, my son." Her voice broke with joy. "You gave me life again." Yukito's eyes shimmered. "No, Mom, it's thanks to you that I made it this far. You raised me to never give up." He smiled softly. "I finally get to tell you that." Nozomi sniffled, half teasing, half crying. "You always gotta make a big speech, huh? In front of the doctor, too?" The doctor chuckled as Yukito scratched his head sheepishly. "Guess I got carried away." Nozomi crossed her arms. "You think?" she said, but the smile betrayed her teasing. Wiping her tears, she sighed. "Still, you really haven't changed, you big idiot." And then, everything froze. The room went silent. Time itself stopped. Someone was watching them through the hospital window. The window creaked open. A pale hand slid inside. A stranger stepped in quietly. He muttered under his breath, regret in his tone. "I'm sorry, but even good people must suffer for balance." A tall blonde man in a simple, worn outfit entered the room. His expression was grim, even as if doing this hurt him deeply. "Like doctors say," he whispered, "we did our best. But sometimes, best isn't enough." He knew what would follow. The family would grieve but not suspect the truth. To them, it would look like a tragic heart attack, nothing more. The blonde man clenched his fist and swung it at Nozomi. "No!" Yukito shouted, stepping in. Metal clashed. He blocked the strike just in time. The stranger staggered back, shocked. "You moved?" Yukito glared fiercely. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" But the intruder didn't answer. Instead, awe flickered in his eyes. "You can move in stop time." Yukito's breath caught. That voice, that face. He knew this man. No way, this guy, he's a hero? The strongest adventurer alive. Rank 1, the so-called savior of the world. Yukito's eyes weren't lying. Before him stood Uyama Kosamorido, the legend himself, glowing faintly with divine energy. Uyama lifted a hand, flashing a unique emblem, an identification badge proof of his title as Hero of Humanity. Yukito's confusion deepened. Then why attack us? Why her? Uyama silenced him with a cold look. "You've asked too many questions. It's my turn now. How are you moving in the void of time?" he asked quietly. "Only those who've died once gain that power." His expression hardened. "So tell me, have you been reborn too?" Yukito froze. The realization hit him like lightning. "Then, you too?" he muttered. Uyama nodded slightly. "Yes, we are the same," the blonde said. "And because of that, I came to warn you and fix what must be fixed." His tone darkened. "I'm here to prevent the end of our world." "What? What's my sister got to do with that?" Yukito shouted. "She's a key factor," Uyama answered flatly. "Specifically, the effect she'll have on the man she'll marry one day. That's why she must be removed." Yukito's eyes widened. "Future spouse? What the hell are you talking about?" Uyama's gaze stayed unshaken. "That man is critical to our world's stability. If she breaks him, if their marriage collapses, the balance will shatter. And that heartbreak will trigger the collapse of everything." Yukito's fists clenched, fury surging. "You came here to kill my sister for that?" Uyama smiled sadly. "You understand now? Be still, Takahashi. This must be done for the world's sake." But those words only made things worse. Yukito's anger flared as he shouted, "This world isn't the past, damn it. This timeline is different. In this life, I saved my mother," he continued fiercely, his voice trembling with conviction. "Because of that, Nozomi never had to work at some sleazy nightclub just to pay hospital bills, which means she never even met that guy you're talking about." His voice cracked as he stepped closer. "Killing her doesn't make sense anymore." Uyama tilted his head, intrigued despite himself. His golden eyes flickered with curiosity. "Interesting theory?" But then his look hardened again. "Even so, I can't take that risk." Instead of gambling on theories, he said coldly, "I prefer certainty." Yukito's hand tightened around his sword. "Touch my sister," he growled, "and I swear I'll kill you myself." Uyama sighed heavily, genuine sadness in his eyes. "You think I want this? I don't. I hate it. But sometimes, to protect everyone, one sacrifice buys peace." His voice carried both sorrow and justification. "No," Yukito said stubbornly, stepping forward. "I'm not letting anyone get hurt again. Not her." Uyama studied him quietly, then smiled faintly, as if an idea had sparked. "Then prove it," the blonde said. "Prove your worth. Fight me." Yukito blinked, confused. "What? Fight you? Why?" Uyama's tone became serious. "Because you're not normal. You're reborn like me. I want to see how far your power goes." Yukito clenched his jaw. "You talk like you're above everyone else. Classic hero complex." Uyama chuckled softly. "Perhaps, though I didn't mean to sound arrogant." But he wasn't joking. A faint gleam appeared in the air, a status window showing Uyama's stats. They were absurdly high. Yukito's eyes widened. What kind of monster are you?" The numbers didn't even look real. How did someone like this exist? Uyama began walking toward him, calm and steady. Simple truth, Yukito. Without power, you can't protect anything. Not your world, not your loved ones, not even yourself. The words hit deep. Every syllable was heavy. It's the law of reality, Uyama continued, and every reborn learns it eventually. His golden eyes glowed faintly. You already know this truth, don't you? So, he said quietly, make your choice. Either I kill your sister here and now, or you fight me and prove you can change fate. Yukito's hands trembled. Should he grab Nozomi and use the bracelet of changeability to run? No, even if he did, Uyama would just find them again. And Yukito couldn't protect his sister 24/7, not against someone like this. So he exhaled deeply and lifted his sword. Fine, I accept your challenge. Uyama smiled faintly, as if he'd known all along the boy would choose this path. Don't worry, he said gently. I'm not here to beat up a kid. We'll keep it controlled. But remember, time in the void doesn't last forever. You last 10 minutes against me, you win. Survive that long and I'll spare her. Yukito's stomach dropped. We're really starting this here? Uyama looked around the hospital. No, I don't want to wreck the place. Let's move somewhere else. With one jump, the blonde sailed out the window, landing gracefully on the street below. Come on, Takahashi, let's find a better arena. Yukito stared out the window, watching him wave casually as if this were some sort of game. Looking back at Nozomi, he grit his teeth. I'll keep you safe, I promise. Then he turned back to the open window, his resolve like steel, and jumped. Minutes later, the two stood in a quiet park near the hospital. Fallen leaves whispered under their feet. This'll do, Uyama said, dusting off his hands. Plenty of space to move. Yukito raised his sword, ready. Don't hold back on me just because I'm weaker. The hero smiled approvingly. Good, that's the spirit I like to see. But remember, he added, you asked for it. Snapping his fingers, hundreds of glowing runes appeared, each radiating elemental power. Water, wind, earth. Without warning, they surged forward, launching elemental blasts straight at Yukito. He didn't even let me prepare, Yukito shouted, shielding himself. Uyama only smiled, amused by the boy's reaction. This is just a warm-up. The blonde's grin widened. Let's see what you can really do. With another gesture, two glowing copies of Uyama formed beside him. Clones too? Yukito gasped. What kind of absurd G-code power is this? But he calmed himself quickly. He was used to being outnumbered. It was just another fight. You think I'm alone? Yukito asked coolly, opening his inventory menu. He summoned two substitute puppets, each taking a combat stance beside him. Now your clones have someone to play with. Yukito smirked. The clash erupted instantly, sword meeting magic in bursts of sparks and flame. His puppets blocked a few strikes, but they weren't built to last. Damn, one hit and they're done, he muttered. Uyama's voice echoed. You realize defense alone won't save you, right? Yeah, I figured, Yukito shouted back as fiery runes spun around him. He raised his staff, the substance of inconsequence, its power thrumming through the air. Just need a few seconds, he muttered, focusing energy. His staff burst into flame. Meteor fall. The sky opened, a burning rock screaming down toward Uyama. The explosion was immense, engulfing half the park. Dust swirled everywhere. That should slow him down, Yukito gasped, catching his breath, but a calm voice echoed behind him. So, that's your gift, Rebirth's blessing of luck? Yukito froze. What did you say? Uyama's gaze sharpened. Your gift. It's luck, isn't it? If my rebirth gift is nothingness, then yours must be the law of fortune. The next second, one of his clones stepped into the meteor's aftermath, charred and crumbling. He'd used it as a decoy. You can see straight through me, Yukito admitted quietly. Uyama shook his head. No, I just connected the dots based on your impossible streak of success. It's not a joke, he added. Nobody gets that lucky naturally. Luck's still a skill, Yukito shot back. You can train it like anything else. Uyama smiled faintly. Perhaps. But relying on luck alone, that's reckless. And glowed again as dozens of new runes formed in the air. Let's see how long your luck lasts then. The earth trembled as elemental beings began to take shape. Liquid, molten, and glowing green. Water flowed and took form beside them. Green nature essence rose from the ground. Flames and stone joined them. Dozens of elemental spirits surrounding the boy. Yukito nodded slightly. You're right, I shouldn't depend on luck alone. But his eyes flicked upward, and he noticed something strange in Uyama's status. His luck stat was abnormally low. Interesting, Yukito murmured. A hero with no luck. Fitting. He shook off the thought. This wasn't the time to underestimate him. Still, he whispered, I'm not scared. I know why I'm fighting. For the people I love. Just like they once fought for me. He lifted his sword again, a fire of resolve burning behind his tired eyes. Uyama pointed his hand forward. Ready or not, he called out as the elementals surged. The world's cruel, Yukito. Time to see if you're strong enough to survive it. Fire spirits roared. Water surged. Earth and wind collided together in a storm of energy. Let's see what you've got, Uyama shouted, his fire elemental lunging forward. Water followed right behind, flanking from the left. Yukito grinned faintly. Perfect timing. He opened his inventory, scrolling fast, and selected one item, the Bracelet of Changeability once again. In a blink, the Bracelet of Changeability materialized once again on Yukito's wrist, humming with familiar light. "If there's one stat that'll decide this fight," he whispered, smirking, "it's luck, and mine will crush yours." The bracelet beeped. Connection synchronized. Activation successful. Even without the proper class, it still obeyed him, because luck was always on his side. In a shimmer of light, Yukito vanished completely from Uyama's sight. Second later, in the middle of the city, cloaked under the faint barrier of nothingness, he reappeared. The teleport landed him exactly where he'd aimed. "Perfect landing," he muttered, brushing off dust. Uyama blinked from afar, genuinely impressed. "A variability bracelet? Clever little piece. Didn't expect that." "Too bad," the hero added, summoning his own aura to hover midair. "I don't need toys, I can fly." Yukito hopped off the roof of a passing car, apologizing to its bewildered driver, then squared his stance. "Sorry about that. Now, let's finish this here." "You wanted to test me," he shouted upward, "so let me return the favor." He smiled faintly. "But a hero wouldn't drag civilians into this, right?" Uyama's eyes softened. "You learn fast." Because deep down, he remembered who he was. He was still a hero, a man sworn to protect, not destroy. "All right," he said, lowering his hand. "No mass spells this time." One by one, his summoned elementals vanished, dissolving the harmless particles. "And no sword either. I'll rely only on my own strength." "Good," Yukito replied, raising an eyebrow. "That makes us even." Uyama's expression didn't change. "Don't kid yourself. You can't outmaneuver me." Yukito grinned, storing his own weapon back into his inventory. "Let's see if that confidence is real." He kept one thing, a sturdy shield. "This'll do. Let's see how you handle humble defense." Raising his shield, he tightened his grip. Round 2. The Park City skyline glowed behind them. It almost felt nostalgic. Even Uyama couldn't help the faint wistfulness in his eyes. "Back in the old days," the hero murmured, "I fought robes who used crowds like armor, dirty fighters." Above them, sparkling spears of light formed, hunting projectiles guided by manasite. They curved midair, locking on the Yukito's trail. "Tracking magic, huh? All right then." Yukito dived left, darting into a side alley. The first spear sliced through the air. He spun his shield, deflecting it just in time with metallic clang. The shot ricocheted off, tearing through a nearby building's wall. The explosion ruptured a gas pipe with a loud hiss. Fire sparks burst from the impact. Uyama floated calmly above, talking almost conversationally. "You know, back then I fought monsters like you, or worse, humans who lost their way. Scoundrels spreading chaos," he continued. "I put them down one by one." Yukito dodged fire and rubble, his tone biting. "And now you're the one sowing chaos? Guess power really does twist people." "You ever think," he added with a brittle smile, "some of us just fought because we had no choice? The city, our world, was just a pit stop. Food, water, sleep, fight, repeat. That's all I remember from my last life." A flicker crossed Uyama's face. Sadness, understanding. "So you really were a survivor too," he said softly. "I hoped I'd meet someone like you someday." Yukito's gaze hardened. "Save it. The past isn't some story we brag about. Back then, I was just a worm crawling in the dirt doing anything to survive." "Then be grateful you got another chance," Uyama said quietly. The words hit a beat before a boot did. Uyama's kick slammed into Yukito, launching him from behind a parked car. The impact rattled his ribs. He rolled to a stop, coughing from the smoke. "Tight spaces aren't so bad," Yukito joked weakly, staggering up. "I feel right at home in them." Uyama frowned. "You're really making this fight a game of hide and seek? Are you mocking me?" Yukito ignored him, spotting something nearby, a skateboard leaning by the curb. "Perfect. Hero or not," he muttered, hopping on. "I'm not stupid enough to stay still and get blasted." Uyama watched, eyebrows furrowed. "Still running? You're starting to bore me, kid. I asked for proof of worth, but all I see is a coward who flees instead of fighting." Yukito's grin vanished as, ahead of him, a giant dumpster blocked his path, a dead end. He jumped off the skateboard, landing behind it, crap cornered. Uyama descended slowly, golden aura burning. "If that's all you've got, then it's over." He raised his hand. The air shimmered with raw power. Yukito's eyes darted around in panic, searching for something. Then he spotted it, a tall lamppost to his left. "Good enough." "All right, hero," Yukito muttered under his breath. "Let's see who surprises who." He sprinted, slamming his heel into the concrete pillar with everything he had. The post cracked from the base pipes beneath it groaned. Yukito smirked. "Let's light this up." Uyama's eyes narrowed. What are you doing?"